today we got some updates, which I didn't know were coming, but I was excited to hear about them. Trudeau gave us a few new bits of information, and then some of the ministers, were chatting with the media, and they filmed it for us, which was good of them, so we heard it too. The big one that I'm interested in is that they changed the wage subsidy criteria. So it used to be that in order to qualify for this new 75% wage subsidy that they announced, you had to prove a 30% reduction due to the COVID-related pandemic. So what they were saying was that you needed to look at March 2019 and March 2020 and show that there was a 20% reduction to a 30% reduction year over year in March to say, yes, you qualify for the subsidy. And today he said that actually it's going to be 15% instead of 30. And it was that you could either go year over year, comparing March 2019 to March 2020, or you could use January and February as your comparative months, which is good news. I mean, none of this is the law yet because they still haven't, they're trying to recall Parliament, but they're trying to discuss how they're going to do it. And so they are trying to figure out how they're going to do virtual Parliament, is what I got from them. So they're trying to figure out how to call Parliament back so they can figure out how to do wage subsidy and push that through and make it into law. They're saying 3 weeks. Hopefully it's 3 weeks. They also said, I think I said this the other day, that they're going to change the CERB to include people that have still some hours. So maybe they're working less than 10 hours a week or making less than $500 a month, and they need to keep working. So look forward to that. Hopefully that'll come when they pull all the people. It won't be people back together. They won't be physically back together, but they'll have a chance to talk to each other. They'll make a change. So I'm looking forward to that. They said also the Canada Summer Jobs Program. There's a ton of students right now that don't have jobs. Can't, obviously, because they're just graduating / their year's just over. And they're obviously not going to get a job right now, or most of them won't get a job right now. So they have announced that the Canada Summer Jobs Program can now, if you hire students, they will subsidize 100% of the students' wages, which is great. And you can now hire the student maybe back, but also for the first time, part-time instead of full-time to receive this subsidy. And the end date for the student's term is now pushed to February 28th, 2020. So that's great news for students and also for businesses who are trying to make this whole thing work. If you're seasonal and you require extra help, you normally hire students. That'll be great for you. If you currently are working at a reduced capacity and you need some help that's maybe less specialized than your previous employees, then maybe that's an option. I don't know how I feel about that one now that I've said it out loud because there's a lot of reasons. But Canada Summer Jobs Program, now 100% subsidized by the government, which I think is great. I'm happy with that. From what I know about it, I only know those little bits that I told you. The other interesting thing that they talked about was that Trudeau sort of talked about why they did the Canada Emergency Response Benefit and the wage subsidy, and why they didn't just push out an amount to everybody like some countries are doing. Like in the States, I think they're just issuing checks, like $1,200 to each person or something like that. So what they said about not doing that here is that this $2,000 is really geared towards people who are middle to lower class. I hate using that term. Lower income, I guess, is what I really want to say. And that the wage subsidy is meant for people who are more middle income earners, because $2,000 for whatever their scenario isn't going to cover their bills. So instead, they're getting $847 a week potentially for this 75% subsidy through the employers. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting that they're trying to push out this two-tiered approach so that they can give middle class people who have higher dollar bills a higher amount, and then yeah, so they're doing this the big picture first, and they're trying to help as many people at once as possible, and then the little programs that cover off the smaller groups of people are going to come after. So that was their thinking, whether it was right or wrong or whatever. Not what I'm getting at, but that was their thinking, which I thought was interesting. Like how often do you get a chance to hear about how the politicians actually came to the answer instead of just their, canned response for things. They also gave us some stats, which I thought were interesting. They 25 times their regular application processing is what's happening right now, and 25 times is a huge number for that CERB. And one of the ministers said CERB, so now I'm not sure if it's CERB or CURB, but 3.9 million applications have been processed since March 15th, which is huge. That's a huge number of applications. And I know that some people that applied for the CURB on Monday have already got the deposit in their bank account. They've already seen their $2,000. So that's great. Clearly the system is working for now and people are getting their money. Some people have actually had $4,000 deposited, and what the president of the Treasury Board was saying today is that could have happened because retroactive payments are happening kind of because we're at that time where the 4-week period is crossing over. It's the March 15th to April 11th is the first 4-week block, and then the second 4-week block starts on April 11th. So if you applied on Monday, you could get a retroactive payment and the following month's payment sort of at the same time. So it might not be a mistake. In fact, he was saying it's probably not a mistake if you got $4,000 in your bank account instead of just the two. But know that it is only $2,000 a month, and you will not get another $2,000 until the next 4-week period. If you get an amount that you think is wrong, you can contact your bank to return the funds. And if you get a check, you can just return to sender the check, and they won't charge you any interest or penalties or anything like that. If you hold on to it though and don't spend it and then try and give it back later, that'll be a tougher scenario to work through. So if you truly feel like it was a mistake, you should not have got an additional amount of money that you got, then yeah, contact your bank if you can. I know that's impossible right now, but to return the funds as soon as you can and just return to sender the check. Those are the things that I learned today. I'm pretty excited about this 15% instead of the 30%, and that we can look at January, February to March. I'm trying not to get too excited because it's not the law yet, so it won't look like this by the time they pass it, but they're hearing people like, well, groups of people, I'm sure. There's a lot of groups. I was going to start listing them, but I don't know all of them. And yeah, so they're doing things. They're making things better to the best of their abilities. I did want to say that, like I listened to the reporters that are asking questions to the Prime Minister and to the ministers, and I'm in a few Facebook groups of small business owners and tax nerds, and just the general feeling seems to be that they're not doing very well, or that, the questions that the government keeps getting asked, like that Trudeau is specifically getting asked from the media, feels, or like, and I'm limited to the financial part of this, the questions that they're getting, but it feels very like the media is trying to suggest a simple answer for a very large and complex problem. And I don't think it's fair to say things like, why didn't your government just pay $2,000 to everybody in Canada? Because that's not the right answer, right? Like, that's not gonna help the most Canadians that need it. Like there's inherent problems in every solution, and they are doing their absolute best to create a solution that helps as many people as possible without creating other problems. And they have a lot more information than we don't. And I just think that like I'm not saying that they're perfect. Of course they're not perfect. But I am just saying that like they're doing their best, and they have a lot of information that they're trying to sort out, a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different things that they're trying to address. And it takes time, and it's hard work, and it's not just a matter of saying it and it's done. So they also have to think about how are they going to administer all of this, and the public servants that have to actually do it. And I know that there's been a lot of public servants that have been working really hard over the last probably month, more than a month, to get all this sorted out and up and running. And, you know, they did 1.7 million applications processed in the first 2 days this week for CURB, which is an astounding number. And it's all going well. As far as I know, there's been no crashes. Like, it's working. It's working. So, yeah, I think that we just have to remember that they really are doing their best, and that the public servants are working as hard as they can, and that they are having to deal with the same thing that we're all dealing with. They have to work from home, and they're in the same isolated place that we're all in. It's not some unfeeling organization that is just doing this for us that we can just sort of yell about or like put our anxiety and our anger on, because I just think that's not the right thing to do. And I know that we're all in a hard spot, and we're all trying to do our best. So I just want to keep in mind that they are also people. The government is also people, and they are also trying to do their best for us. Yeah, that's all I have for you today. I'm excited about these new things, and I'm hoping that the benefits that they continue to unroll or roll out will continue to support more and more Canadians. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, if you have any questions about these benefits, I've left my call link in the description, so give me a call. Let's chat. Well, you can book a meeting with the link. That's not really a link to my phone. You get it. You can book 30 minutes with me. It's free. We'll chat about it. I've also left the CURB frequently asked questions link in the description. There's a lot of good details in there that they don't have on the main page. So if you have questions, read through that as well. I'll see you tomorrow.